In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a snowy winter holiday card. So if you want to learn how to do this, please keep on watching. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Welcome back to another video. This time I wanted to create a snowy winter scene because it had been requested a lot. I have done something similar in the past, but this is kind of a different take on it. So to begin, I've just taken a circular object and I have traced that to create a moon that we're going to be filling in a little bit later. And then I've just used a ruler to outline where the horizon line is going to be. With clean water, I'm just going to fill in that top area and make sure that I avoid that moon shape. Then I'm going to add the indigo color to the top wet area. And because this is a wet on wet technique, I don't have to worry about the paint going in that dry area because it's only going to go where I've placed the water. I wanted to add a little bit of color, so I added in a little bit of permanent rose, and I'm just going to let that blend in. I'm going to let that dry completely, and then once dry, I'm going to erase all of those pencil lines just so they're not in the way. Now, I didn't want the moon to be a stark white, so I'm just going over it with a light wash of the indigo blue once again. And then I'm adding in a little bit more of that pink color. Once again, I'll let that dry completely, and you can see the moon is a more faded color now. Now, I really wanted this to be darker because I wanted it to be more of a night scene. Doing night scenes are a little difficult in watercolor because it does dry a lot lighter than you expect. So I decided to go in with lamp black and indigo again and just create a darker wash at the top. And because it is a lot darker, I did have to go in with a dry brush around the edges of my moon just so that they're not so crisp, or so the edges aren't so crisp. And then I just went over it again with a light wash to make it a little bit foggy looking. We're going to be filling in the entire card with foreground and background and middle ground pieces, so I'm not too worried about the background looking absolutely perfect. But for now, I'm just going to start on some of the trees. I'm using a fine liner brush, and I'm using lamp black, and I'm just creating some trees. So this first tree is going to be in the foreground, so I'm going to make sure that it is a darker wash of the paint. And then any tree like this one that's going to be further in the background, I'm going to make it a more diluted wash, so it's going to look a little lighter, a little more faded into the background. So to do that, you're just going to add more water to your paint for the background images. And to create a tree, all I really do is start with a little bit of a stem down the center, and then off of that I just kind of do really short, quick brush strokes using my brush, and I'll sometimes do dots, sometimes little lines, and I'll just kind of follow the shape of a tree. It's really not that hard to do. Just start at the top and work your way down, and as I said, just follow the shape of a tree and you should be totally fine. Now for some of these trees that are more in the middle, I'm going to kind of do an in-between mixture of the paint. So it's not totally diluted with water, but it's not as opaque as the foreground trees. So I'm just going to continue layering these trees, making them come towards me. And you can add as many trees as you want. You could continue this all throughout the whole bottom section of the tree. I'm just kind of going to do the whole middle area. And I'm going to place some over the moon as well, so it really looks like they're in the foreground here. Now I'm just going to add a light wash of indigo to the bottom again, so it's not like a bright white color. I want a little bit of texture in that snow. And finally, I'm taking my Posca paint pen. I talked about this in my last holiday video, but these pens are great because it is like a paint inside and it's in pen form. So it's super easy to use and it's a lot more opaque than just using a pen, or sorry, just using a paint. So I'm just going to use that along some of the branches of some of the trees here, mostly the ones that are in the foreground because they stand out the most. So to do that, I'm just adding little dots, little lines, and not being too precise with this. I'm just sort of adding the bunches of snow wherever I think they would fall naturally. Adding the snow here is such a great way to make your trees really start to come to life because it sort of adds a new dimension to them. It makes them look a little bit more realistic than if they were just black blobs. Okay, so now that I'm done that, I'm gonna move on to the fun part. This is Winsor Newton white gouache. Gouache, if you don't know what it is a more opaque type of paint. So it's more opaque than watercolor. You could also use acrylic paint, or you can just use your pen, but this is a lot more fun. I'm using a toothbrush and I'm just going to splatter in some of that paint all over the painting. Also make sure that you do protect anything that you don't want splattered. I'm just covering up my phone here with my other hand so that it doesn't get all painty. But I'll just keep going until I'm happy with the amount of splatter. I wanted a lot of splatter in this one, so I'm just gonna keep going. Now I want to add in some larger pieces of snow, so I'm just going to take that liner brush again, and using that same gouache, I'm going to go in and just dot in some snowflakes by hand. So I'm going to put these all over the painting, covering up everything so that the larger ones are going to appear more in the foreground, just like we did with the trees. So we've got some really tiny ones from the splatters that we did, and then some medium-sized snowflakes, and then I'm gonna do a couple of really large ones too, so it looks like they're way more in the foreground. Once that is dry, you can remove your tape to reveal the nice pristine border. And this is what you're gonna be left with. Originally, I wanted to go for a more colorful nighttime card, but I actually like how this turned out. It's definitely more monochrome. But yeah, that's it. I hope that you guys liked this tutorial. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. It really does help me out. And let me know what you want to see in the next holiday card tutorial. I hope to see you in the next video.